Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbo. Gino, how's it going?
Stenziano, awesome day yesterday down in Knoxville. He's wearing the Sherpa today. Went to a Sherpa store. When you have six kids, I bought two Sherpas, one for me, one for my wife. The one got reclaimed by my son, so I got to buy six more Sherpas. It's going to cost me like $1,000 for Sherpas, Jake. You're killing me here. Don't introduce me to cool stuff because it just goes. It flies, bro. You know what I'm saying?
The G-Dad is chirped out. So, guys, anyways, this is where we would normally plug something to pay the bills so Gino could buy some Sherpa. But now for our listeners, we only showcase products and services that we approve are used in our own business. This time we're going to tell you about our Wheelbarrow Profits community. G-Dad, take it away.
And what's great, Jake, we have a guest on that's going to talk about community. And we've been fortunate. We've been growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members have been growing. It's been incredible the last 6 months, what's been going on in our community. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for those who want to follow the proven framework that we've created, the buy right, the manage right, and the finance right. We're going to leverage our connections, our education, and our mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So guys, if you're interested in finding out more about how you become part of this amazing community, go on jakeandgino.com and hit apply to work with us. So enough shameless plugging for now. Let's get back to the show. We have a very special guest today. It's Jairek Robbins. Jairek helps businesses, brands, and individuals achieve rapid, measurable improvements in work and life through his business performance coaching and his #1 best-selling book, Live It. So without further ado, Jairek, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thank you both for having me. It's good to be here.
Thanks, Jairek.
Hey, it's our pleasure, and I'd love to just kick this thing off because I think it's such an interesting topic. Why don't you tell us how you got into the overall business of just helping people? And there's a two-parter here for you. The last time you got a little banana story. I want you to tie that banana story in a little bit as well because I think that was very interesting.
Perfect. So how I got into the business, for hopefully not to bore anybody who's listening, take a little history, step with me. If you go all the way back to where I started as far as my business or career goes, my first job was not in this industry. My first job was security at Blockbuster Video because I was a very large human as a kid. And I guess I looked scary with my head shaved and playing football all the time. So I was big enough at 15 years old for them to hire me, and they couldn't let me work a register because I wasn't old enough in California to handle cash at a business. So I just kind of roamed up and down the halls or the little walkways of the shelves. And I'm happy to say theft went down by 67% within the first week of me working there. So apparently I scared off some teenagers who were trying to steal the DVDs or video games. So they were very proud to have me on the team Fridays and Saturday nights. Moving forward, my very first actual job was in our family's nonprofit. And that's just had my heart and soul. Getting paid to help people every single day seemed one of those no-brainers. You kind of scratch your head and you're like, wow, I literally get paid to go out and help people have a better life. Cool. And that was amazing to me. The challenge was at one point, I remember looking at the paycheck and then hearing what some of my other friends were making in different parts of business and thinking, why do we get paid so little to help people all day? So I was stoked we were getting paid, but I wasn't stoked the amount we were getting paid. And I kind of scratched my head and tried to figure out, what does this look like if I plan out the future of an income of a nonprofit? I'm like, this does not add up to the dreams and goals and all kinds of stuff I had on paper. So I had to figure out a new way that would do both, where I could focus on helping people all day long and helping them, be happier, healthier, have a better life, do whatever they want to do. But then on the other side, not only helping them all day long, but getting a healthy paycheck from helping them all day long. And so I kind of scratched back and forth, landed up in the coaching space where I was like, hey, this is cool. All day long, all we do is, it's like a nonprofit. You just focus on helping people. But then there's a healthy profit on the other side as long as you do a good job. And there's a big old asterisk that goes to as long as you do a good job. Because in my first year, to fast forward all the way up to 7, almost 8 years ago now, I started my own coaching practice. I call it a practice, not a business, because it's a self-employment. You own your own job. You don't show up, you don't get paid. A business runs regardless if you're there or not. And I didn't have a business at that time. I had self-employment. So I was employing myself. I'd show up every day. And what was interesting, being, how old was I? 24 years old that first year, living in the front den of a house, had 3 other roommates, 4 of us all together. I had a curtain as a door because that was the room I got. Luck of the draw. And what was interesting was internet, cell phone, and my computer helped me put through my first $100,000 in business in 8 months. And I was like, hey, that ain't bad for 24. Like if you remember back to 24 years old, you make $100,000 in 8 months, you feel like you're freaking king of the world. I was crushing it. And my roommates, they all thought I was up to some nonsense every day, because they're like, he never leaves the house. He's always on the phone. He's talking to people all over the world. How the heck is he making so much money? And I remember they'd stick their head in and be like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do all day?
And what did you say to them? What did you say?
I told them, I'm like, I help people be happier. And at the time, I only focused on 2 things: time management and optimizing health and fitness, because those were 2 things I had really mastered in my own life at that point. And, I was going to school, getting a degree, coaching on the side, working out, like all the things that I was stretching my time thin with. Lo and behold, every time you get married, have kids, you realize how much more time you had back then. But at that time, it felt like I was really making the most of all those moments. And my very first client was a law firm in London who wanted actual information of how to optimize their time management as an organization. They hired me, we delivered, they loved it. They started passing me around to all their clients, and the business grew rapidly. It was very cool. So in that process, it was a great learning curve, and it brought me all the way to where we are today, where I had to figure out, how do you optimize that and turn it into an actual business over time, instead of just great old self-employment. And so over the years, we figured out how to do that. And now we've been able to leverage it to a point that, a good chunk of it still counts on me. But as we're transitioning, we're creating more and more and more of the business that I don't have to be here for it to continue to work.
I like that.
We can go be anywhere in the world and allow, the business to be working, our team to be working, and we can check the bank accounts and they're better than they were yesterday, every other day.
So how do you measure? You said you want to do a good job. How do you measure doing a good job with a client? What are your parameters? What do you like to see in that relationship?
Progress. And it depends on the client. It depends on what they're really looking for. I'll give you a couple examples of specific clients. Most of our clients right now, for me personally, tend to be 35 to 45-year-old male entrepreneurs. They own a few different businesses, and they're usually married. They usually have 0 to 3 kids. They're in that stage of life where there's a lot going on. They're busy, and these people, because of the success they've had, tend to be quote unquote successful from the outside perspective, but in their own mind and world, they're literally pulled in all directions at the same time. And the struggle they have is they know what they should be doing, quote unquote should. They should be working out. They should be getting better sleep. They should be eating better. They should be doing all these different things.
Instead, they're shitting on themselves, right?
Correct. And they're stuck in a position where they start telling us all the story. Not enough time in the day. You don't understand. My kid got me up last night and threw up everywhere, and that's why I'm exhausted today. And this is just reality of life at this stage, and it's normal, totally normal. And there's certain things, if done correctly, that can optimize the heck out of this human being and still keep them at their best mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, while tackling all this chaos and optimizing who they are and what they have available to get it done. So specific types of results we look for. Brought on a client. He owned a handful of construction companies, building, selling, real estate companies, had a restaurant, had a printing company, handful of others as well. We had to look at the whole picture. And his goal was he literally said it, I want to make more money, specifically want to jump my income from $500,000 a year to $1 million a year in personal net after all the taxes, everything, take home income. And he said, but I want to work less in doing that. I'm guessing you would laugh as loud as I did when he said that. I'm like, okay, what magic pill are you taking?
Listen, I think his head's screwed on straight, to be honest with you. I think it's all that's good stuff to, want to achieve, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Yeah. It just, from the perspective of, that's not normally how it works. Mm-hmm. So we kind of laughed, and I said, okay, don't get me wrong. Great goal. Everyone wants it. but show me your plan. Like, how are we going to do this? So we sat down, we mapped it out, we figured it out. And a big portion of it was transferring him out of self-employment in certain businesses, putting the right people in place, putting the right systems and strategies in place, and getting him to a place where his team was upholding standards, not going after goals. And, you know, he had to be the first role model, though. We had to get him upholding standards in his life, which got us back to him saying stuff like, oh, I know I should be working out every day, but, you know, life happens. Like, that's not a standard. That's a goal, a wish that you try to work towards every day and don't deliver on. Mm-hmm. So we had to get him into the point of he's upholding daily standards regardless of circumstance. And we got him to the point where we were measuring and tracking daily results in his personal life. And I said, everything we've just done with you, do it in your office. Set daily standards with your team, things they live by. Like, this will be done. And set up reporting just like we do. We have daily measurements and stats that we see exactly how he's doing. And this type of stuff we start to measure is stuff like his meditation in the morning. There's a headband you throw on, shows you how well you're able to clear your mind. And the little stats, when you have a head full of thoughts, I can show you a picture of it. The lines are just jumping all over the place. And when you're able to completely clear your mind, it goes flat at the bottom. And so we would measure that for him every day, first thing in the morning. And I'd be able to tell him, hey, either A, you got a lot of stuff on your mind, and even with your best effort, you can't even clear your mind right now. Or B, you're able to clear your mind and be focused on the task at hand.
That's awesome.
So this is really interesting because I gotta make a confession right now, because we talk about this millionaire morning all the time, right? You know, it always seems to come up. People bring up. I haven't read the book. Okay, I haven't read the book, but I
wrote a book review for you. Read the book.
Dude, stop. But I feel like I've incorporated it in my own life, and so much of what you just touched on. I started getting up earlier. I use Headspace meditation in the morning. I make sure I hit my workouts. I read, you know, which is when I say read, I'm on Audible every morning. I'm front loading this stuff, so I'm checking the box and it's getting done. But I'm not just checking the box. I'm actually really engaging in getting through it. So how much of this are you finding is effective when people are front loading it and getting it done before they even really start their, you know, quote unquote work day?
Absolutely. Huge difference. Game changer for most people. Now, but real quick, let me show you the difference. So this is how we try to differentiate. I love Headspace. Amazing tool.
Yeah.
The challenge is at the end of it, how do you know it worked?
What is the end of it? Because I don't even know the end of it, because I never meditated until the last few months ago. I started doing it, and we're talking about being effective and being measurable, right? So I got a comment from my wife the other day, and this is there's no like plugs to Headspace or whatever. I was joking about it before the call. Yeah. She literally said, "I've noticed in the last few weeks you've been, you know, calmer and almost more like sensitive or aware." And I'm like, I don't know. Is there a connection there, or am I just getting soft, or my testosterone? No. I don't know what's going on.
There's an absolute connection there. Yeah. Absolute connection. Yeah. The challenge is, and this is where most people would ask me, I get business owners who are like, how do I know this shit works?
Yeah.
I plug it in, I listen to the thing, or I close my eyes and talk to myself for 5 minutes. Did it work? I don't know. Prove it. Yeah. And so I'd say, okay, great. Let me show you a day when it didn't go so well. And I'd show them this and be like, hey, I was doing well for the first couple minutes. And then you could see my brain just went freaking bananas. And I was like, oh. And I said, well, what about a day where you did great? And I was like, oh, well, you know, this is a much shorter session, but here's a day when I nailed it.
And this is how they felt great, or they're just what?
No, this is their brainwaves.
This is their brainwaves. I got it.
This is their actual brainwaves.
He's asking you, and you're showing him. I get it.
Yeah. So I said, okay, what about you? Like, how do we know you did good or not? We don't know, because both of those were the same meditation. One of them, I was able to clear my mind. And I'll give you an example of why this is important. One of my clients used to train the snipers in the Navy SEALs. And so in working with him, you're training someone who has to be laser focused. Like, you got to be laser focused to get this task done. And if you're only laser focused on what you're aiming for and you're not paying attention to the craziness around you, someone could walk up behind you and shoot you and you're dead. Like, so you not only have to be laser focused, you got to be completely aware of everything going on around you in your little perch, wherever you're hidden, trying to get the job done. And so that's insane. Like, you got to be aware of everything around you and totally freaking focused. And I noticed business owners, managers, leaders, kind of the same thing.
Yep.
You got to be laser focused on the exact task you're getting done right now. And you got to be completely aware of all the chaos around you. Because if you don't pay attention to the chaos, you miss your P&L a couple times. Oops, we're out of cash. Operating cash is gone. We're out of business. are bad. It's
a lot
like
of
you're
moving
dead.
parts.
Yeah. So as the business owner, the person running the team, you got to be aware, even as a member of the team, you got to be aware of all the chaos, and you got to be laser focused on the one task at hand. Same thing. If you're buying and selling property, dude, you're not aware of the chaos. You miss a couple pieces of paper. Oops.
That's right.
Someone's not going to be happy with you.
And Jairek, it's funny. You mentioned your typical persona. I was your typical persona 10 years ago, but I just ended up going to coaching school. I became a life coach, and that really propelled my self-development. So I'm going to give a shout out to my brother, who is out there, and he's at a point in his life right now that he needs this because he's looking to grow. He's comfortable right now. He needs to contribute more, and he needs that contribution and that growth. That's what he's lacking right now. So, and he's your specific avatar, and people out there don't know what they don't know. And I know this would be like vitally important for him, because people are always like, well, I want to become financially free, but why you want to become financially free? Let's focus on why, and then let's get the tools that you need to do it. Because everybody out there, because if a pizza guy and a drug rep can do it, anybody out there can do it, right? So you just have to figure out, you have to get to that point in your life where you're like, man, there's got to be more out there. And there's a lot of people, and that's why that age between 35 and 45, there is more out there. Kids are great, but it's not just about kids. It's not just about your wife. It's about the whole entire package. And why can't we have the whole package? We should all be able to have the whole. If we're going to have the cake, let's eat the cake too. Don't bake the cake and let's sit on the counter, right? We're taught that, right? And that's the stupidest thing in the world. Share your successes, share your wins, and get out there and help other people do it. I mean, that's just my 2 cents, but we've been programmed wrong. I think, this is important that people listen to, that you can program your own life and you can set your own goals. And I'm out there to tell you that if we can do it, anybody can do it out there.
That's right. The piece that came together that was interesting about this, because you talk about money, and going back to that client, make more money working less. So we said, okay, we started to create a list of the things he was going to focus on. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, meditation every single day, having your front end or your front loading morning routine, doing all these things, which he was doing some of it, but we optimized them. And then we created standards where it's like, you will get this done every day. And we started to track it. So every day we had a standard that would be done, and we had self-reporting, and then also, gadgets tracking him, like the meditation, or we have one that tracks his breathing all day and tells us when he's calm, when he's tense, and when he's focused. And so we know these things about him, and you can't lie. You can't cheat on some of these things. Like, we know your brain waves. We see your breath pattern. You can't tell me like, oh, it's because of whatever. It's like, no, you weren't breathing. And so we see this stuff. We take what's real, and then we start to create those standards that are upheld. And, I have a little spreadsheet. It turns green when they uphold their standard. And as soon as it misses, when a different number comes in, it turns orange, yellow, or red. And we have a conversation on the days that the standard's not hit, and having that consistent accountability and nudge help that guy really fine tune it. The fun end result that year, his income went from $500,000 to $750,000 net income. And then he actually took a 5-day vacation every single month, 12 months out of the year, with his family down to the beach. And it was like, wow, that's fucking fantastic.
He's actually enjoying his life now.
Yeah. And so he was making more money, which was the big goal they wanted in the first place. He's spending more time with his kids and wife. He's enjoying life more. And he actually found out that he's more productive when he's on vacation than when he's at the office. Because, on vacation, he'll still check in and get stuff done. And just to make sure things are good and nothing's falling apart. And if anything, we got him set up so that the thing he has to check every day is the sheet that says, here's the team's standards and are they upholding them? And as long as they're upholding the standard, he didn't have to do anything. Like, the team's good. They did their job for the day. Everything's fine. Back to the vacation. And if it's not, all he has to do is check in, coach him a little, fine tune him a little, back on standard, good to go. Bam, everything's back in place. Help grow the whole company. So that concept, like, those are the results that show up. His money grew and he had more time. Another touching one that happened, same concept, same general stage and age of life. We took a guy who owned a bunch of gyms, and we realized how much time it took, because it was really time, intensive to manage all the employees and all the trainers and all the stuff going on. And so he landed up switching industries, got into a different type of business. We optimized that business. He was really good at the management side of fine tuning the details of how many customers and what conversation and what script and all that jazz. And we started making more money in an actual business that didn't require him to be there, only took 2 employees to run. I told him to sell it, but he just decided to wind down his gyms and let him go. And then the beautiful part that happened, it was sad, but beautiful at the same time. His wife ended up getting cancer and having to go through chemo. And the beautiful part was because he had made that transition, he was able to literally be there for her every single treatment she needed and take her to the doctor personally and be there to support her throughout the entire process. And he said, if I would have had my old company and we wouldn't have done this, like I wouldn't have been able to be there for her when she needed me most. I was like, oh. And so
that hits you in the gut right there, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's only two things where people really hit me. That moment where I sat back and went, wow, it gave me that extra fuel to make sure I had a business and not just, a self-employment opportunity so that I could be there for my wife if she ever needed me at that point. The other one someone said that kicked me in the face a long time ago was when I was working for another company. They said, do you really want your husband or wife getting up every day, working so hard to look their best to go have to, look good for another man or woman to tell them what to do? I remember being like, oh, no, thank you. I was like, I need to make sure our business is running strong enough that I can give my wife the choice to look good for me or just hang out or do whatever the hell she feels like. Like, I don't want to have to look good for some other man every morning. No, thank you. And it's a simple comment. It's silly, but it was one of those that just kicked me flat in the face at that stage of life. And it gave me that fire to say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go make this business work, and I'm going to make sure it works incredibly well to give my family the opportunity to have a choice. And if she wants to go work anywhere, bless her soul, let her do whatever she wants. But I wanted to have the choice to choose that every day and not just be stuck in a situation.
So there's two things here that make people successful that work with you that I see right off the bat. First thing is people need to be held accountable. You give them that accountability. And the second thing is people need to surround themselves with other successful people and other people who are willing to take it to the next level. And, that's what I think Jim Rome says it, look at the 5 people that are most around you. So if you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people, you got to stop doing that, and you've got to get together with people who are successful and have results. So those are the two things that stick out from your business and what you're doing, and you're getting the results. So, I mean, it's really a system. You're basically creating a system, and you're systematizing it. And anyone who wants those results, pick up the phone. I mean, we're going to give all website at the end, but I'm jazzed up right now because I love this stuff, because people always come to us and always want to learn about financial freedom and all. I want to learn about the mechanics on how to invest in real estate. That's really not where you should be starting. You should be starting with Jairek. Fine tune your life there, and then come to our side, come to the dark side of real estate, and real estate will be a breeze. Because once you can figure it out, Jake, you get up in the morning, you know why you're doing the real estate.
It's a piece of the puzzle. I know we talk about the 5 F's a lot, but man, it's more than just the financial end to it, or you're going to be very lopsided, and you're probably going to be miserable.
Jairek, I want to jump into the two sides of your business that we just spoke offline before. Give us the two sides of the business that you're diving into now.
So there's 2 parts we focus on now, and this is just refinement over time. I looked at all their clients. I looked at what we focused on them with, what we worked on them with. And as I looked at all the different people we worked with over the years, I was focused on who got the biggest ROI for their investment, their time investment, their money investment, like who put something in and got 10x, 100x return for what they invested. And I looked for those and then started to fine tune what the categories were and said, hey, that's our bread and butter. We can help other people too, but this is where people get the biggest return on working with us. And so in looking through that, what we figured out, 2 real categories stood out. Number 1, human optimization. And if I were to sum up just the run through of what that means, it starts with the foundation of optimizing any human, which is sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Seems simple, but if you screw up any of these 3, you're not the best version of yourself. And if you've had your first child, you know this, because this little being enters your world and jacks up usually your sleep, nutrition, and exercise very quickly. and you see zombie versions of yourself walking around trying to figure out what the heck just happened to your life. And that's all they messed up, was only 3 little things. Now, the crazy part about these 3 little things, if we were in a wartime scenario and you got captured by the enemy, you became a prisoner of war, and they wanted to torture you, like really jack you up mentally, emotionally, just rip you apart. What are the first 3 things they take away? Well, quick and easy. They wouldn't let you sleep. Psychological torture, emotional torture, breaks you down as a human being, breaks your willpower, breaks your drive to want more or do more, clogs your ability to think. Just 2 hours missing your sleep, or I'm sorry, 2 nights in a row of missing your sleep, getting 4 hours or less of sleep for 2 nights in a row. You're psychologically working as if you're equivalent of being drunk. So you think you're doing good, and the more you do, the better you think you're doing, but the worse it actually is. I don't know if you've ever seen a friend go out on the dance floor after too many drinks. They think they're getting better, not quite working out in their favor.
I definitely get better, bro. All right? That's crushing it. All right.
Usually your best friend will have a video the next day to prove it. But the same concept happens. The less sleep you get, the better you think you're doing, and the worse the actual performance is. Mm-hmm. And it breaks you down. It
takes more time too. You're so inefficient. Your work actually is taking twice as long. That's what
Correct.
I know.
Correct. Is jacking you up. The second, food, fuel. Maybe, you do so well in real estate, you build your empire, you're making ridiculous cash flow. You get ballsy enough that you go buy one of those badass business jets. You get the Gulfstream 650 ER long range, $65 million jet. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to go look at some new properties. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to load this baby up. We're going to fly out. We're going to, buy a building in New York City. So you jump on in California. You jump up, run up the stairs, high five the pilot, say, let's fly. They go, hey, boss, just one thing. Everything's great. We went through our checklist. We're good to fly. Only one problem. We got about a half tank of fuel from yesterday. We should be good. I mean, I think we'll make it to like Colorado, and then we're just going to gun it out of here. Like Colorado will run out of fuel, but we'll glide it into New York City. No big deal. What do you think?
I think Gino tries to get me to skip lunch, and if you ever do it again, I'm going to have a problem with it, man. I do it. We're not skipping lunch anymore. All right?
But here's the problem. As well as I do, a plane doesn't work that way. You're over Colorado, you run out of fuel, that thing falls out of the air. Doesn't matter if it's a $65 million jet. You're going to crash, burn, and blow up and die in the middle of the mountains. But for some reason, most people tend to pull this with their food and nutrition. They wake up in the morning, have a half fuel of tank from yesterday, whatever they ate, thinking it's okay. And they're like, I'll just, I'm going to make it till noon. And my sugar is going to just crap out. If you want to test yourself, go get one of those sugar constant monitors, little patch thing you stick in your arm, and monitor it all day long and watch where your sugar levels go under stress, as well as when you run out of fuel. And all of a sudden, you'll see a sharp decline. You'll see mental fog show up. You'll start to feel a little off. You'll think you're doing better, even though you're getting worse in your cognitive performance. You can watch it real time happen on a little monitor as it just goes, beep. And all that's happening is you're running out of fuel and you're crashing and burning, not realizing it. You'd never do it in a $65 million jet, but for some reason, humans like to try to do it in their body every day. Skipping lunch, skipping breakfast, saying, I'll eat in a little bit, just a minute, done. And they don't know what happened. So food, sleep, last one, exercise. I luckily have never been in a situation where this has happened, but if someone took you into a wartime scenario, they tied you up so you couldn't move, within a few days or less, it'll be ridiculously hard to get your body to function, even if you were untied. Why? Muscle atrophy, your body starts to get cramped up and break down. And the less you move, the more it stops working. And so that concept of most of us as humans aren't moving enough. And I don't mean waking up and having a gut-wrenching, chaotic 65-minute workout to start your day and all that stuff.
Good too, though.
It's cool. Nothing wrong with it. But it's just optimizing for a different thing. I had a young guy from, I think he was in the Middle East. He called me. He said, what's the perfect thing to eat? I said, what the hell do you mean perfect? And he's like, well, what's the perfect fuel? And I was like, well, what are you optimizing for? And he's like, I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and be able to run the Iron Man. I was like, those are two different plans, bro. But
one's D-ball and testosterone, and the other one's like, you better be like getting your Lance Armstrong juice in there, right? Whatever.
Totally different. Different training, different fuel, different nutrition, different movement, different focus, different routine. Totally different. And this is where most people screw it up. Is we're trying to optimize for too many things. So you got to say, what am I really optimizing for? And the thing in my thought, parents, people, students in school, business owners, you got to optimize as an endurance athlete, because you got to be up first thing in the morning and you got to have lasting energy all throughout the day and even into the night to keep going mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so as an endurance athlete, the other one is longevity, because you can be really good now and then die in 10 years because of what you did to yourself. And that's not smart, especially with the technology that gives us the ability to possibly live many more years than we are right now currently. I mean, they're able to 3D print using our own genetic sequence, a new ear, a new heart, a new lung, that's not someone else's in your body. Like, it's yours, printed for your body. They're getting close to getting this stuff to work now. And when that's an option, like your heart goes bad, you just replace it with a new 3D printed heart that works just fine. And it's your heart. that they made from scratch. It's really remarkable what's about to happen in history. So you need to take care of yourself so you have the opportunity to take part in that stuff if you want to be able to live much longer and experience more life. So with that, I consulted with a good friend of mine who does the Ironmans, and he is a human guinea pig of the Tim Ferriss sorts that tests all this stuff on him. The most recent one he was some of the stuff I don't agree with. He was doing injections into his male parts to test the response of something the other day, and I was like, dude, sometimes you go too far.
Sometimes you let someone else try that one. And they get
like that's right? Not the one I want to be a sample group of in any way, shape, or form.
He's dedicated, bro.
Though, huh?
Dude, he is dedicated to figure out what works, and he knows. So I consulted with him, and he said most of us don't need more than 20 minutes a day of a hard workout. He says what we do need, though, is perpetual motion. What that means is instead of sitting like we are all day, we need to be up and moving constantly. He said the blue zones where people live 100+ years around the world, a lot of these times these people are gardening throughout the day, walking a quarter mile to go get some water, walking back, congregating with their friends, walking around town constantly. And the key is they're constantly moving. Easy thing you can do in your office or wherever you work or whatever you do, set it up so that your office becomes kind of your playground. Set a heavy weight on the ground. Every time you go past it, lift it up, set it down, walk away. Put a pull-up bar under the door jamb. Every time you go under, do a pull-up, let it go, walk away. The concept of always keeping in motion is where all the magic is found, he said, and allows you to optimize for longevity and endurance. So fast forwarding from there, sleep, nutrition, exercise, you got to optimize that. Happiness. Cool part is there's scientific proven ways to boost happiness in someone's life so they actually enjoy it. Random acts of kindness, working out every day, keeping a gratitude journal of 3 things that went great today, scientifically proven over a 30-day period of time that it boosts your overall happiness in life, period. Like it's no longer, going to an ancient temple in the hills of Nepal to figure out where the true happiness lies in the world. Like these things in a laboratory were proven to up your satisfaction with life. Community, peer group. This one's important. There's a great guy named James Altucher. He just real simple thing. This could be useful for everyone listening. Just a tool specifically. He wanted to connect with, is it Kramer? The guy who rings the bell on the stock show?
Yes.
Jim Cramer.
Yeah. He wanted to connect with that guy. The ding, 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 that guy. He wanted to connect with him because he was really into stocks at the time. And so he sat down and he asked the question every day until he found the right answer. And the question was, what are 10 ways I could improve what this person is doing right now? And he asked it every day, and he wrote down a list every day of 10 ways he thinks he could improve what Jim Cramer was doing. And eventually he came up with a solid 10, and 10 blogs I wish Jim Cramer and his team would write, because I'm a reader. I'd read all of them, he said. So he wrote out, and then he said, I'm going to do the research too. Pulled the research for each blog, gave the stats, all that jazz, typed it up in a nice format, emailed it in, said, Jim, I'm an avid reader of your blog. I love your show. Here's 10 things I wish you'd blog about. Sent it to him. 10 minutes later, he got an email back that said, hey, we love this. Could you write these for us since you've done the legwork? He said, great. He got hired to be a writer on their team, on their blogging team. Sorry for any noise. It seems we've got a large truck in our alleyway back here.
No, you're fine.
And so he wrote the blogs, got brought on the team. And when he was at the team, he walked around and he looked. What's 10 ways I could make this show better by being here? Looked around, came up with 10 ways, handed it in. He took one of the ways, which was an app they didn't have, and he decided to create it himself. He developed it, created it. He ended up selling it to their team for $10 million.
To Kramer's team?
Yep.
Man, they are doing good. They're making the money, huh? Good for him.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it was amazing. And I sat back and I laughed and I went, wow, what a way to connect with somebody.
No kidding.
Instead of like, hey, how can I add value to your life, which makes them have to work and figure out what the hell you're good at and what you can do for them. It's a nice question, but it puts the work on the wrong person in the relationship. Right. He stepped back and he said, hey, where could I actually make this better? He came up with a solution. He wrote it out. He actually delivered, and he didn't ask for anything. He just gave it to him. And lo and behold, turned into a $10 million deal so many months later for him. Just that simple process. So for those of you wanting to build community, figure out who you want to connect with. And my thought is, kind of this learn it, live it, give it concept. Figure out people you can learn from who are ahead of you at whatever you're doing. people you can kind of trade war secrets with of what's working right now at the same moment. And then people you can share with who might be a step behind you and say, hey, let me share with you what's working to get you to catch up so I have more peers on my level.
It's so true. Yeah, because we get all the time, hey, you just want to pick your brain, or hey, I just, how do I get a mentor? Can you mentor this, that, and the other thing? And it's like, guys, there's only so much time to give. I mean, if you looked at my day today, the amount of, it just stacks one after another, and it's time blocking, and we're going till 8, 9 o'clock tonight, right? I mean, and it's not going to stop. And it's like, we love everybody, but there's only so much time that we can all give. And that's why we choose these mediums to give more and hit more people. And so that's just something to realize, guys, is that it's not, no one's out there and not trying to give more. It's just, there's only so much time in the day, and we're all very busy.
And I think that to piggyback off that, when you want to give, you really want to be focused giving. You just don't want to give. You want to give your full attention. So listen, a 20-minute call might take me another 20 minutes to prepare for that call. And then the post-call on that to really follow up. We started a mastermind with 10 guys. And you think it's a 1-hour call once a month, 10 guys and gals. It's not a 1-hour call once a month. It's the pre, it's the post, it's the calls during the week. And I'm getting so much value from it that I don't mind putting the hours and hours because I love it. But it's really, you really want to be good at something. You really got to put your focus on it. You got to put your attention on it. You got to be willing to do that. So you really got to pick and choose where you want to basically focus, I think, your attention on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so the other side, that's a human optimization side of the business.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're still going. I feel like we're halfway there.
I'll tell you the other side. It's much faster. The business optimization, and it, how do you optimize the business? And there's 2 books that I'd recommend someone read if they really want to optimize their business. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. One is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. It's advice from a guy who, for I think 30, 40 years, he's been buying and selling companies. And it's just so good. One of my favorite chapters in this book where, let me see if I can find it real quick. He goes through a time in his business where basically everything fell apart. And as it fell apart, he wrote down all the lessons he learned in this time.
It's like Ray Dalio principles right here. This is beautiful.
Yeah. And here it is. So let me give you, it's 1980s. He's in real estate, southwestern part of the United States, collapsed. He was wiped out with many of his friends and associates. Here was 1989. Let's see, 24 months previously, our property was worth 2 to 3 times the debt. In 1989, it was worth 20% of the debt. The amount of debt had not gone up. The property had been whacked 80 to 90%. He said, imagine more than 3,500 banks disappearing in a 4-year period of time. Commercial real estate that could be bought for 20% of replacement cost. Rents for Class A office buildings being less than the taxes, insurance, and common area maintenance fees. This was his reality.
Wow.
So all of a sudden he got smacked. And he sat down and he wrote out the lessons he learned that happened to him. And he was, hundreds of millions of dollars in debt at this point. And so just a few of my favorites, I'll read it from a couple of sections here. Number 1, a lack of rules, skepticism, and discipline caused every mistake we made. Emotions mixed with unbridled greed and easy access to capital produce economic disasters. Financial engineering and incremental debt do not turn a bad deal into a good one. Raw land eats 3 meals a day. And so he goes through.
Sounds like our banker, right? They got creamed on raw land back in when everything dipped. You got to, anyways, carry on.
Yeah. Debt, and then he goes through bench strength is critical. Find the best people and compensate them very well. It saves money in the long term. The tougher the times, the better the people you need. There's no way to survive a bad market with weak people. And he goes through each section. So overhead, stay lean if you can afford to get fat. Keep overhead low. Watch your cash very closely. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Will this help me make more money? Once the money's spent, it's gone forever. And it's silly because it's things that are so simple. And anyone I've given this book to, what's funny is they write me back and they're like, this is the best advice I've ever received.
And it's so simple, right? Yeah.
It's so simple. It's stuff you scratch your head. You're like, dang it. It's just not the decisions we make. The other one that's great is called Traction by Gino Wickman. Gino, yes. I don't know if you have a second last name.
Yes, we like Gino.
we had these guys at the event this year. EOS. Yeah. We're huge into systems. We love EOS.
Yeah. So these guys. Yeah. Vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction. It's wonderful. Those ones combined together are just rock star information. Because if you can combine the right systems and set up that process of standards, and then you have good advice from 40 years experience from someone else, you start to look at it very differently. But in business optimization, I know you had seven, I forgot which letter it was. Do you have 7 C's?
Oh, we have the 5 F's we're talking
5
about.
F's.
Oh no, this is a general, this is family, this is faith, this is financial, this is friends, this is fitness. And when we're talking specifically about the financial end of it, I'm saying, guys, this is only a piece of the puzzle, and what you're proposing is creating a whole life. This is not just, focusing on the income or focusing on, man, I want to get fit. It's a whole life and creating a life for yourselves where you can go on that 5-day vacation. And I wanted to say this before. Guys, it's important to unplug for a minute. When I go on vacation and I get back, I'm 10 times as hungry, and I'm like itching to get back in the game. So that little break can just rev my engine back up. And I think a lot of you guys, if you're grinding 24/7, 365, sometimes take that 2 or 3 days out, go to the beach, visit your Gino if you got one. Then when you're coming back, man, that fire is just blazing, and man, get me back in the game. So guys, it's important not only for your mental health, but it's going to help you actually in your business, in my experience. So.
It does. It absolutely does. For the business growth side, and it's different than investing, because this is still the business side of it all. Investing, you guys know about that. It's different than the business. But the business, if you want to grow an actual business, there's 5 C's in there. And the first one is customers. How many people know that you exist? It's just a big old question. And you got to figure out, how are you going to measure that? How many people know that your business actually exists? Like they haven't opted in anything. They don't trade you anything. They just know you're in the world. And you got to figure out what's your plan every single day, week, and month to grow that number, so more people know that you even exist. Because it would suck to be the best at what you do in the world and no one even knows you're there. So that concept of how many people know you exist. Number 2, how many of them have given you their information? Have you contacted or connected with them in a way where you have a way to contact them? They've given you their email, their phone number, their address, something that you can reach out to them consistently and communicate with them. Third, how many of those have converted into an actual client where they've purchased something? Doesn't matter if it's 25 cents or 25 million bucks. How many have bought something from you? So that's the third one. The fourth one, how many what's the price point? Can you get that to go up over time? Can you get the 25-cent customer to turn into a $1 customer? Can you nudge it up? Can you package it up? Can you figure out a way to get them to buy a little bit more each time? And then the last one, the concept of how often do they buy? And these are really simple numbers. And when you can understand how those 5 numbers work with each other in correlation, and the goal becomes, which one do you really need to optimize? And if you take them one at a time and you optimize, if you get more people to know you exist, you get more of those people to, better ratio of those people giving you their information. You get more of those people to buy something from you. You get them to buy something with a little bit more each time. And then not only that, you get them to buy more often. Your business is going to grow, and it'll grow fairly quickly. You just got to figure out which one your gap is and how to get it to nudge up.
So, I'm going to show my age right now, and I'm going to do it with rap. All right. So I think it's going back to like 2003. I mean, you guys might have heard of this guy, 50 Cent. You know who I'm talking about, Jairek. Go Shorty. It's your birthday. Little 50, little fitty. So do you remember that video where he's like plugged in? Is this first one? He's on the treadmill looking all buff and he's running, and they're like getting all the vitals. So 2 things. Our community director, Josh, would absolutely love you because he's all about, improving in the human optimization. So we got to get Josh on this. But what does it look like? I mean, we're talking about human optimization. Are you got guys plugged in, and are they like 50 on the treadmill right now, or what does the program look like? Because I got ideas, but I want to hear how the apps work, and I'm like guessing, but I want to hear from you. What does this actually look like?
It depends on the person. It depends on what are we optimizing for?
Yeah.
And so if they just want overall better performance, if they need more focus at work, if they need more better quality of sleep. Like some people tell me, oh, I've got 7% body fat and I work out like a beast and I eat super clean, but I just feel tired all the time. And I go, oh, how's your sleep? And they're like, oh, I sleep 7 hours a night. I'm good. And I was like, no. I don't care how much you sleep. I care what's the quality of your sleep. Like, did you get 20% of deep sleep last night or did you get shitty sleep? Because you can have more quantity with less quality, and it's horrible. You wake up exhausted even though you slept 9 hours last night, which you should be completely refueled, but you're not because your body wasn't resting. give you something that's really dear to home. A family member of mine was struggling with heavy metal poisoning in their body, and eat super healthy, work out like a beast, all this stuff, but their body wasn't detoxing the heavy metals from fish and other things they were doing. And so what happened is they were able to get it out of the blood, but then they realized it was still in the brain tissue. And they were like, oh shit, that's horrible. You could have a stroke, memory loss, all kinds of stuff. You could have a heart attack from that in your brain. And so what happened is they had to figure out how do you get it out of your brain? And it came down to REM sleep. It's where you have glial cells called there's the olfactory glial cells, glymphatic system. So there's the lymphatic system, which cleanses your blood. And then there's the glymphatic system, which cleanses the glial cells, cleanses the brain tissue. And it only happens during REM sleep. So you take that same person, help them optimize their sleep, all of a sudden they're healthier because their brain's detoxing, helps with Alzheimer's, memory loss, all that jazz. So that we can track down to your sleep. We can track your breath pattern all day, know when you're calm, tense, or focused. If you're a man 35 to 45 who's at risk of a heart attack because there's too much stress in your life, I can track it down and figure out what moments of the day cause that stress. And we can show you how to breathe through it. A friend of mine trains professional athletes, Olympians on breath work, how to prepare before a big meeting, how to keep your calm and cool and complete focus during, and how to release it and completely let it go on the other side. And there's only 3 different breath patterns to use. But we track it first to figure out what's really there. Meditation, how you can clear your mind and stay focused. We use the little Muse device that tracks your brainwaves. We can optimize that and fine tune it over time. Other stuff we do on self-assessment. So how happy you are, are you growing your community, your family, all those things. We just base it on a scale that we create together and measure up against it. So those things we track every day. We talk 2 to 4 times a month, and we keep fine tuning and optimizing till we get a standard where it's like you're consistently at that place every single day without putting any thought or effort. It just happens because you built it into a habit. That's that side. The business side, we do the exact same thing, just different things we're measuring and fine tuning.
So do they actually come into the lab? Are you like hooking these dudes up, or can it all be done remote?
Remote. So we work remote because we travel often. We're in San Diego right now. We have a house. We have a condo here. We have a house in Tampa. We move often. My wife and I, we like traveling the world. I made it a goal when I set up my business in the coaching world that I wanted to be able to work from literally anywhere on earth via laptop, cell phone, and the internet. So I've run training sessions for Goldman Sachs on a picnic table in a jungle in Costa Rica, tethering Wi-Fi off a friend's cell phone.
Nice.
And at the end, they were like, where the hell are you? And I turned it around. I showed them the jungle. They're like, why the fuck are you there? And we're in a boardroom. I was like, hey, that's your choice, not mine.
Exactly. I created the business and the systems, man. You're still the practitioner there.
That's
so
right.
What about on a personal level? What is a habit that you've adopted that has made you successful?
This one was interesting. So it's the habit of always being a continual life learner. I was invited to go be on a leadership panel at Harvard for their MBA students. They invited me into their conference, and they put me on the panel, and it was really kind of awkward, in a good way, but definitely out of my comfort zone, because the other 3 people on the panel were longtime tenured leadership experts. And it was interesting because the guy next to me, he's the tenured professor at Harvard who teaches the course on leadership and written 4 books on leadership and was here to speak about leadership. And I'm like, oh shit. And then they introduced the guy next to me. He's an admiral in the Air Force, I believe. If I remember I don't remember his rank. I think it was an admiral in the Air Force. And he's in charge of cybersecurity and global protection of the United States. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Decent title.
Title. Like, he's got 10,000 troops under his command or some shit. And here's to talk about leadership in the modern warfare era. And then the guy next to him, his right hand, who does everything else in him. And then they're like, and Mr. Robbins. And they hand me the mic and say, why don't you introduce yourself? I was like, you got to be shitting me. I'm like, does someone not like me here? Like, why are you doing this? And they said, describe what makes you a great leader. And I remember I just thought about it and I said, I guess the best answer I have is my thought is to constantly be learning what works in life. And as soon as you identify it, apply it in your own life and actually live the results, like really, truly live it. And then when you figure out what works, find a way to pay it forward, not as the 5 golden pillars of the way everyone needs to live, but just pay it forward. Be like, hey, here's what's working right now. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, chop it. I don't care. But here's what's working. So I'm going to pay that forward. And it was really interesting because they had just properly introduced the guy on my right. They handed me the mic to say that. I handed it to the admiral on my left. And they said, and sir, what's your version of leadership? And I think I just right time, right place. I got lucky. And he says, well, what the young man to my right just said, I think is the best explanation of leadership I've ever heard.
That's awesome.
And he said, I concur. And he passed it to the guy next to him. And he said the same thing. I was like, oh shit.
Well, and I'm looking at your boom right now, learn it, live it, give it. So you basically, and that's what it is, I don't know what the hell that habit book was that I read, but it was really good. But I mean, basically you figure out what's going on. You talked about learning it, and then you're adopting it and you're bringing it into your life, and then you're paying it forward. So that's pretty cool, man. That's a great answer.
Learn, do, teach. That's basically how we started, right? We learned how to do it. We're doing the real estate. Now we're teaching it. So I think everyone has to adopt that model. I love that model.
I did a TEDx talk on it in New York City a while ago. And it's just a simple thing I think would change the world. If more people get into the habit of doing that, it just perpetuates the knowledge. And it's something where, again, you learned it, you're doing it. And then you literally have shared it with someone and said, hey, catch up, like come do it. If you want to do it, do it. Here's exactly what you have to do. And as soon as I know better, I will share with you better.
Well, the problem is a lot of people live in scarcity, right? I mean, I don't live in scarcity anymore and it's funny because a lot of guys are saying, well, Gino, if you're teaching this and they're going to buy property in your market, I'm like, there's so many properties for sale. There's so much for sale. Listen, maybe they can't buy.
My wife was always saying that shit in the beginning, like, oh my God, you're going to teach these guys. And it's like, look, we're doing great. It's abundance mentality.
Jake, the thing is, if they can't buy it, they can partner with us, or we can grow our team and help our team make more money. And then maybe eventually it just works out that way, that there's not scarcity. There's more money and more deals in this world to go around that Jake and Gino can find. So if I can teach some guys to do it, empower them, maybe those guys can teach other guys and empower those other guys. I think there's more power in that than the actual real estate business.
I guess it always goes back to food, but it's big eyes and having a hard time eating what's on your plate to begin with, right? So it's like
two Italians right from New York. What do you expect, right?
The other piece that happens that's beautiful and think about is in the end, how many people are going to show up to your funeral? And it's that piece of all those people you helped throughout the years, and the guy you helped make enough money to pay his food for his kids every month, or the lady who learned and was able to take the trip she always wanted, or the family that was able to have a better life because of it. Like those people are going to think about you and show up in the end. And that piece of did you really matter in this world? And it always comes down to what you were able to share with the people around you and how you helped their life be a little bit better because you were here. I
agree.
That is awesome. I totally agree with that. What project are you excited about right now?
We got two. We finished a co-branded and co-authored program on high performance with Wim Hof, Sean Stevenson, and Ben Greenfield, who are all just crazy. Ben Greenfield's the guy who was doing the injections in his man stuff.
What was he? Okay, so I'm sorry. I don't mean to get way off topic. What the hell was he doing that for?
I think he was trying to boost testosterone and see what would happen with this new stem cell injection.
Okay. Wow. That's too risky for me, bro.
If something goes wrong, rub it on your shoulders or stick it in your ass if you really need to. You don't gotta, anyways.
Yeah. He's worth following. He's wicked smart. Okay. He tests everything. He's worth checking out. And we like him because he's kind of like a Dave Asprey, the bulletproof guy.
Yes.
And Dave's really smart. Ben's really smart. The only difference, Dave's more of a tech business guy, and Ben is more the guy out in the world, like an athletic version doing it. And so I couldn't imagine Dave, bless his soul, I couldn't imagine him running an Ironman. Just not his game, even though he's got all the science, right? It's just not his physical performance level, where Ben is the guy who runs the Ironman and competes at that level. And so I just like that kind of edge from him because he's living it. He's really he's using it, but then showing you how his performance grows or goes up or down based on what he's doing differently. And then he tells you what he did differently you could test it on yourself and get the results. So we co-founded a program for anyone who wants it. If you just go to udemy.com/high performance, they flash sell it. It's a $200 program, but they flash sell it for like $10 if you just keep your eyes open and watch it. The goal there is just reaching as many people as possible. So far, it's been out for a few months, and we have, I think, 1,300 students from 76 countries in the program, and we're getting great feedback so far. So it's really cool to see it kind of go around the globe a few times and help so many people.
That's great.
And then the other program we're really pumped about, like you guys, I had the experience where I was able to grow my self-employment of being a coach to a certain level where I had an overflow of clients and too many leads, and it was a blessing. And so I created a company or group called Performance Coach University, where we train other coaches who are looking to become a high performance coach. And we're really fired up. The week before last, we just got our accreditation from the Center for Credentialing and Education from the US, who does all the like counselors and therapists, all their credentialing. Mm-hmm. So we just got their accreditation approval for our program, which we're fired up about. So we became a little bit more of the real deal.
Congratulations. That's a big goal right there. That's a lot of work to do that, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was cool. So we're training people in the coaching space, and we're accredited and backed up by the big organizations to say it's legit and it's working. And that's something we're really proud of, because again, I was super fired up to have our first so many clients go through the program and be like, this was great. We loved it. I'm like, yay. And then I kind of held my breath and waited for their clients to see what they said. Because as much as I want people to be like, your program is great, I want their clients to be like, this coach is amazing. Mm-hmm. So we had to wait a little bit for them to go get their first clients and do the thing. And then we started getting feedback from their clients. And that was the coolest part. The coolest part was seeing someone that we had the ability to be part of their life and giving them some tools and helping getting them ready. But then to hear how they've been able to go change someone's life or help better their life or grow their business or whatever, that's the coolest part. Because like, it's working. And, a little bit of our legacy will continue far beyond us physically being here at that point, which is a blessing.
That's great.
That is really cool. And so you told us what you're excited about. What about the best way for people to get a hold of you if they're interested in taking that next step, or they really want to say, man, get me on the program? Like what is that? What is the place to go to take the next step?
Find us online. You can go to our website, JarekRobbins.com, performancecoachuniversity.com. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm on Instagram every day. So we're always sharing great stuff and just pumping great thoughts out into the world and chatting with people every day. Do Facebook Lives a few times a week. So just come and find us online, listen in and tune in and hang out. Plenty of opportunities that we share of current pricing promotions or updates or anything that's going on that we're up to, and you're welcome to join and come and be part of it.
I love the idea of just human optimization. I never heard that until today, and I think that's really cool. So, Gino, what else you got?
That is it. I just wrap up. I just glad that he took the time out and listen. Like he said, he's got so many other things he could be doing with his time. Spend the time with Jake and Gino, and actually share his message with our community. And I know it's going to resonate with a lot of you guys out there. And I want you guys to think and assess what your next step is. What are you focusing on? Focus on it. And if you're not feeling great, take a look at his program, because there's a lot to it, guys. You're getting older. You should be getting better as you get older. You shouldn't be getting worse. That's what people.
Well, the amount of resources that are out there to us and things like that. To this point.
I feel great. Yeah. I've got a ton of energy. And it's partly because I love what I'm doing. I'm energized. I'm motivated to do that. Find what you love to do. Start focusing on that, and start focusing on giving back to others. That's my 2 cents, Jake. What about you, bro?
No. And that's exactly what I was just going to say. I'm thankful for this show, for the fact that he's providing value to our folks, because I think we have such a great community. And I just love the fact that, if someone gets 1 or 2 nuggets out of what he said today, and he provided a lot more than that, and they can take that and improve their lives, that's what it's all about. So I think that's great, man. So
I just want to say thanks to Jared for coming on and, sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, and thank you for everyone who take the time to share a little life with us and listen in. I appreciate y'all.
Take care, guys.
We trust that you enjoy the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.